In this video, we will take a look at the tactical mechanism of Conte's Juventus and its transition. In the summer of 2011, the second year of Agnelli's presidency, Juventus decided to invite Antonio Conte to replace Luigi Del Neri after a disappointing 7th place finish 2 seasons in a row. Conte at the time had just led Siena to promotion to Serie A, but his only experience in Serie A was with Atalanta, and that had ended badly, with Conte abandoning them in 19th place midway through the previous season. In addition to his qualifications as a former Juventus captain, Conte also carried the sign that he was a fundamentalist and had a commitment to a particular formation of 4-2-4. Conte used this system with 2 clubs, Bari and Siena, that he had led to promotion in Serie A. It was very highly organised football, based on clear principles. The goal of having possession was to create an effective space for an offensive action. This started with the goalkeeper and the defenders, who would repeatedly exchange passes with 1 and 2 touches. By patiently moving the ball around the team, it invited pressing. Meanwhile, the left and right wingers advanced into high positions out wide to pin the opponent's fullbacks. This was to force the opponent to expand vertically and horizontally. After luring the opposition out, the ball would be delivered over the top to the front 4 players. The front 4 players then pick up their speed of play and flood the opposition's goal. The key to making this work is to have the wingers high and wide and the defenders to be positioned close to the opponent's attackers. Beyond the halfway line, the defenders mark tightly to deprive the player with the ball a forward pass, applying severe pressure to force the ball to be played back. Meanwhile, the other players regroup to protect their goal. Conte started the season with a game against Parma in a 4-2-4, made up of centre-back pairing Chiellini and Barzagli, Pirlo and Marchisio in the centre, Giangacarini and Pepe on the wings, Lichtensteiner and De Gigli at fullback, Matri and Del Piero up front. In the second half, Vidal replaced Del Piero and the formation changes from a 4-2-4 to a 4-3-3, and Vidal scored. Conte said that he didn't know Vidal so well, but Conte soon realised he had a powerful weapon in his hands. Juventus led Serie A in both possession and tackles, with Vidal grabbing 17 goals and 13 assists. It was like having 2 players in one. He even played as a centre-back in some games. It was a surprise that Conte switched so easily from his favoured 4-2-4 to a 4-3-3. Juventus welcomed current champions Milan with Conte's 4-3-3 at its peak and completely dominated them. The most typical lineup for the top 3 was Matri as the centre forward, Vucinic on the left and Pepe on the right. The movements of the 2 wide players were different, with Vucinic operating high and wide, where he could enter the half spaces and deliver a vertical pass behind the midfield line to the centre forward, and Vidal moves forward and opens up space on the right for Pepe to make a typical vertical run to get behind the back line. The 2 inside halves protect the register, Pirlo in the middle. Marchisio and Vidal are box-to-box midfielders. In November, Juventus played Napoli, and Conte had an even bigger surprise than the 4-3-3. It was to counter Napoli's 3-4-3, which when the wing-backs advanced was effectively a 3-2-5. So in order to cope with Napoli's front 3 in a 4-3-3, it is important that the fullbacks take up narrow positions in the back 4. But it's unrealistic to have the wingers come back and defend, so Conte's solution was to have wing-backs cover the wide spaces. Conte continued the combination of 4-3-3 and 3-5-2 until the end of the season. In the summer, Conte recruited Quando Asamoah and converted him into a left wing-back. Conte's 3-5-2 took the best out of 4-3-3 and 4-2-4. The 2 strikers always kept close to one another, and instead of 4 defenders passing the ball around, it's 3 centre-backs and the anchor, Pirlo. And like the 4-2-4, the wing-backs advance in line with the forwards. The system utilises the strengths of the centre-back trio, Barzagli, Bonucci and Chiellini, and Lichtensteiner has the stamina to run up and down the right wing-back position. However, there are some prerequisites for this to work. Teams are well balanced when the ball is lost, and that the team should have a numerical advantage on the ball side. When the ball is lost, the team should be close as possible to the opponent's goal. The player with the ball is pressed and is forced to play a long pass. There were quite a few cases where the ball was lost after being played forward because Juventus lacked quality up front. So in 2013, Carlos Tevez and Fernando Llorente were added and combined to score 39 goals. This helped Juventus to emphatic league titles in 2014 and 15. On a domestic level, Juventus were dominating, but on the European level, better teams with better players were able to control possession and push Juventus deep towards their own goal. The teams with tricky wingers were able to cause Juventus problems in the areas in front of their wingbacks. Conte resigned in favour of managing his country, where he had moderate success with the 3-5-2, and after switching to a variant of a 3-5-2 at Chelsea in a defeat to Arsenal, he won the Premier League. Will his stubbornness get the better of him at Tottenham?